Alex McNeil with Esports and Looking for Group. I'm here today with Travis Yang, who is the head esports coach at Texas A&M University, San Antonio. Travis, thank you so much for being here with me today.
My pleasure, Alex.
Yeah, so I'd love to hear a little bit about the program. Why don't we launch into it, and why don't you tell me a little bit about the history and how the program got started?
Sure. So our program is actually quite a young one. Even within the space of collegiate esports being as young as it is already. This program was formally started right around January of this year. So we're actually headed into our inaugural season just here, starting in a few weeks. I myself came on board at the end of January. Prior to this, I was working for 2 years as the assistant esports coach for Ashland University up in Ohio. They were one of the first 70 varsity programs in the U.S. So I have some experience right in program building, and I'm excited to come down here and kind of build it out again. As for kind of how this program got started on this campus, a large part of it was actually championed by the president of the university. Texas A&M University San Antonio is the newest member institution to the Texas A&M system. This university was actually started in, I think, 2009. So they just celebrated 10 years. Being a new university and being based in a major city, San Antonio, the president wants the university to kind of be ahead of the curve. Esports obviously being one of those elements. So she wanted to make sure that we're keeping up with obviously what other schools are doing, but doing things that she truly feels like would benefit the students. And
Right.
definitely esports, I agree, being one of those things.
Nice. So tell us a little bit about what your program looks like. I mean, how is it structured in a competitive way? Are there varsity, intramural components? I'd like to hear a little bit about that.
Yeah, so right now we are considered
Yes.
a varsity program. We're housed directly under the Department of Recreational Sports. That being said, recreational sports is now, as of 2 months ago, housed under athletics. So similar to what you might see at some other universities, our members of the team are considered student athletes, just as student athletes under the basketball team or the football team. That's why we're able to offer the scholarships, travel support, jerseys, and all that other good stuff that you would expect from a standard athletics team. As for kind of the team setup and in regards to the games, right now, at least headed into this first year, we have 4 games that we're considering varsity. So that's Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, Valorant, we have Overwatch, and we have Call of Duty Modern Warfare. So these are the titles that we are offering scholarship for.
Mhm.
I personally do expect this selection to increase.
Yeah.
This was just, kind of based on my initial research and polls. I knew that the interest on campus was here for at least these games. So that's I wanted to work off that to begin with.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
interesting. We do a lot of surveys with schools, and one of the things that has really been surprising and interesting to me is how many students are interested in Smash. Um,
Yeah.
did you find that as well? Was Super Smash Bros. Like a breakaway game for you?
Oh, by far, it
Yeah,
was
by
huge
far,
as soon as I
right?
came down here. Yeah.
That's so interesting. Like, what do you make of that? And why? It's funny because you see that interest, but you don't see much, at least high profile development of Smash as an esport.
Yeah, and that's kind of been right, kind of what the larger Smash community has been grappling with for years, right? In Melee and now in Ultimate, um, just a complete kind of silence on Nintendo's part for the burgeoning field of esports. But of course, they've progressed nonetheless. Organically. That is definitely a specialty of esports in general. Is if there's no competition for it, you build it. People,
Yep.
build it, they will come. So it is definitely an interesting kind of balance there. Um, I think right now, collegiate wise, there's a pretty healthy scene. There's a few major third party organizers that support Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Of course, one area I personally like to see it develop more is I like to see more online play. I understand that for Smash in particular, online play has always been a rough spot for it. Again, partly probably due to that lack of support from the developer and acknowledging that
Right.
high level competitors need good netcode, they need good stability.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah. Interesting. So tell us a bit about, the facilities on campus. What kind of, material investment has the school made into creating the esports program and providing space or access to equipment?
sure. So headed in this first year, we have a dedicated room. We call it the esports facility. And to be completely honest, this is not. This is kind of a temporary space, and I'll explain in a little bit. But for at least this first year or two, we have a kind of a classroom-sized space. It's dedicated for the esports team, so card access only. We have right now 13 Alienware setups that have the latest gear as of early 2020. All the monitors are 240 hertz, so given my experiences in esports, it's actually pretty top of the line. Again, as of right now, um, heading into 1 to 2 years from now, the university is actually constructing an entire rec facility, much like your standard university has a rec center or a rec facility. And part of that plan, part of those blueprints for that rec center is actually a dedicated esports facility. So there'll be a brand new facility. I imagine probably ranging anywhere from 30 to 40 PC setups at that point, and then that will become the new dedicated space for esports. So that is the plan 2 years from now. Until then, we have a smaller kind of dedicated space. But I think for in terms of competition and practices, it should definitely serve its purpose.
Yeah, well, that sounds like there's big things to come. Um, so, something I'm always curious about is what do you see as a unique or particularly special element of your program? Could be something that exists now or something that you guys are, investing in for the future or whatever you think.
Sure. I think there's a two-part kind of answer. One of them is particular, of course, to our situation. So, A&M San Antonio is based on the south side of San Antonio, which so a large portion of our student population, we represent, historically underserved, underrepresented students, and just through talking with current students on campus and recruiting from the high schools, a lot of these kids growing up, they didn't really know what esports was at all. Even now, maybe they didn't grow up with access to PCs, or nonetheless, they haven't even thought about high-end PCs like the ones we have.
Yeah.
So this is all kind of foreign to them. Granted, a lot of them have played, Call of Duty. They played Overwatch. They played those games, but they never imagined a world where they could go to school and play their games that they like, and possibly even get a scholarship for it.
Yeah.
So that definitely puts at least me as a coach in a very unique spot to kind of provide this opportunity for these kids who otherwise would not have had it. So that's definitely something this university prides itself in, and they fully support esports in that endeavor. So a lot of our initiatives and the next few years, I think, will be revolved around that concept. I
Yeah.
think the second part that makes us unique is just that we're housed, as I mentioned, we're housed under rec sports right now, but also athletics.
Hmm.
So that allows us to do a lot of kind of unique programming, fun type events for the current students, tournaments, game nights, stuff like that, watch parties. But also because we're under athletics, we're going to have access to athletic trainers, strength and conditioning coaches, so that they really do kind of get that comprehensive experience to both be a student athlete and a student just enjoying the programming side of things.
Nice. So the last question, I think that's a good segue actually. I'd love to hear, I usually ask directors or head coaches, what's their biggest piece of advice for students who are in the process right now of searching for a program. But I want to comment. I do think it's really, I come from a state education system as well. That's where I did my graduate studies in California, and I think that whereas a lot of schools are, liberal arts colleges, small schools that are trying to attract a national or even a global population, there's a very different role that more, institutions that serve more local communities have. And I think that that's a really powerful, interesting, I don't know, angle of launching an esports program when you're working on with local populations and groups. So yeah, I mean, I wonder if there's a way that your answer to this question can, relate to even the groups of students who might be already looking at your school, or not. Feel free to address it however you want. But yeah, I'm curious your piece of advice for a student who's applying right now or going through the process.
Right, and just to kind of echo what you said, right? Obviously, plenty of different universities get in esports, all for their own reasons, right? We have some that are coming into the space, top level. Their goal is to offer full rides and win national championships,
Right.
and there is nothing wrong with that, right? That is an awesome goal, and that's a whole nother approach, and it takes a lot of work to do that. You have some universities where they're more focused on the recruitment part of it, trying to drive student enrollment. You have some universities that are looking at it more as a service for their current student population. All of those are, perfectly fine. It's whatever the university wants, whatever their initiatives are. So to kind of tie it into what you were asking, my advice to what students are looking for, and what should they be looking for? What should they be doing? Number one, obviously, try to reach out to as many programs as you can. Uh, if at all possible, go out and actually get there in person, talk with these coaches in person, visit their facilities, meet the current team members. You want to make sure that this is an environment that you're going to feel comfortable in. Back when I was in Ashland, and now as well, uh, I would often tell students, part of our interview process was, trying to get a picture of them, what they are expecting, what they want, their financial situation. A reality is, for a lot of students, again, especially if it's a private school, it's going to be more expensive, right? Uh,
Yeah.
and if me as a coach, right, as much as I want a talented student or motivated student to come to my program, if I don't think it's going to be stable or they're going to have a good experience, then I'm going to tell them, hey, maybe this isn't the right experience for you, the right place, but let me try and point out these other schools that are
Yeah.
closer to you, or that can provide similar opportunities or might be more aligned with what you're looking for. So on the student side, definitely figure out kind of what you want, and then take that and bring it to the coaches that you're talking with, so that you can check those boxes off and really figure out, I like this or I don't like this.
Yeah. That's great advice. Well, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you taking the time. It was great to talk and hear a little bit about the program.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you for having me.